The hardest thing to do in bug bounties after picking a target is figuring out what you do with this specific bug bounty program and how do you approach it, what do you do, what applications you go after, how do you prioritize, everything like that. And I know this because I'm also in the same boat. A lot of times when I go after large organizations, it is a bit of a struggle to figure out what is it that I want to hack on, what's my approach, and where do I even start. And I also know this because when I dropped my free Recon course last month, a lot of you guys commented and said, hey, well, now that I know how to do Recon, what do I do post Recon and how do I know what to do? And hopefully by the end of this video, we can answer that question for you guys. But before we do this, this is going to be one of the first videos in this series that I want to do. I used to do a lot of live Recon streams back in the day and I've gotten burnt out on doing those, but I do enjoy occasionally making some live Recon videos like this one, where I can show you how to approach a target and share some of my experience with those targets, or even if it's a target I've never hacked on, I could show you what I would do and where I would get started if this was my first time hacking on it. To do that though, I do need your help. I need you to drop me a comment and give me a bug bounty program that you want to see me go after in the next video. And if enough of you guys comment or like a specific comment, then I may pick that target and make a video in the upcoming months. I don't want to do this every month because I do love doing Recon, but I also enjoy hacking manually. And a lot of my findings come from going after these bigger applications and ripping through them manually, not based on Recon that you think of. And I do want to make it clear, Recon does not mean automation. It doesn't mean that it's going to find us vulnerabilities. I just want to simply show you what would I do when I have a list of domains and subdomains. Where do I go? How do I pick my targets? And how do we find leads that could generate vulnerabilities for us? So if you're looking for automation, this is not it, but I'm still going to show you how I approach a target, and hopefully it teaches you some stuff, whether you're doing bug bounties, red teaming, pen testing, or whatever it may be. With that said, I'm going to skip the part where we do asset discovery. And if you're not familiar with asset discovery, the concept behind asset discovery is where we look for domains and subdomains. They're just assets that we can list that we can later hack on or enumerate more subdomains and permutations and things like that. If you want to do that and learn more about it, I have a video right here. You can go check it out. Go check it out, watch it, and it will walk you through the entire thing. The next thing is setting up your sources and learning how to do some content discovery. I also have a bunch of videos on this. Go check them out on the channel. I just want to skip these because I want to save you time, especially if you are a homie who's watched all my videos. I don't want to waste your time and bore you with all the things that you should know already. So we're going to jump straight into the hacking part and looking at a company's infrastructure that I've already done the asset discovery and information gathering on. For this video, we need a couple of things. One is our target, which is going to be John Deere's vulnerability disclosure program. The reason why I've picked John Deere, even though they are a tough program to hack on, it's because it's a good example of showing you all the different assets they have and how I would prioritize and look at my Recon data to decide what I want to hack on next. The next thing is we're going to need a VPS or a virtual private server that I'm going to show in just a sec. This is for us to be able to send our traffic from that IP address versus our computer. So if we do get IP ban, we can just dump that machine, get another one, and also it's just in the cloud so we don't lose any of our data and we can always log back into it. To do that, we're going to quickly jump into Hostinger and go to hostinger.com/NahamSec. As you can see, they have a massive Black Friday sale going on that you can get a VPS from under $5 a month, and you can claim that deal right here. And honestly, the KVM2 is good for what we want to do. It gives us enough RAM and CPU core to do some of the basic stuff that we want to do. But honestly, if you're doing more and more, you want to scale, you can go for any of the other plans. But for the sake of this video, we're going to pick this one. And of course, we can pick anywhere between 12 months or 24 months. Honestly, the 24-month deal is probably a banger of a deal because it does save you a bunch of money. And if you really want to save up more money, you can click on the have a coupon code and type in NahamSec, which will give you an additional 10%, and it will bring this up to $130. So you do save a bunch of money doing this. And the cool thing about Hostinger is that not only they allow you to kind of install OS or applications. So if you wanted to kind of do NN8, I've done a video on this, you can do that. If you wanted to deploy cloud panels, so it's easier to issue and manage your hosts, you can do that as well. But if you're like me and you want to do something really quickly, you can pick an Ubuntu, or if you're a hardcore hacker and a tryhard, of course you can take Arch Linux. Or you can always go down and click on something like Kali Linux, just in case that is your preferred operating system. But any of these work, but for the sake of this video, we're going to pick Ubuntu, confirm it, and then just hit continue. And as soon as you hit continue, all you have to do is log in, give them your credit card information, and in a couple of minutes, it will give you the IP address of your machine, and you can SSH into it and log in and do what I'm doing live. Remember though, I've already pre-installed all the tools that I need. I've imported everything into this machine just so I can save time, so we don't make this video longer than it needs to be. So again, if you want to learn how to do these, go on the channel. I've taught all of these with this video right here with my free Recon course that's on YouTube. But again, I want to make sure you understand everything has been set up, and we're just going to go after our target live starting now. Now that we have everything set up, you can see, as always, I kind of split my workload into 4 different things. The first one is obviously our domains, which I do something like sublister or subfinder, and it finds me all these subdomains. And there is about roughly, I think, 9,000 or actually 19,000 domains in here. And not all of those are going to resolve. But what we do here is we send it to DNSX, and if we look at DNS, I think here is where we have almost 9,000 domains or subdomains that have resolved from that list. And you can see kind of this is what it looks like. I have 3 domains in here. I've done John Deere Cloud, johndeere.com, and deere.com. And this is because those are the 3 domains that I know are a part of their core infrastructure, and they have a ton of different assets to go hack on. So if we look at this, there's a 4th folder, and that is the output that came from HTTPX. The 3rd step is usually HTTPX. I take everything from DNS and I feed it to HTTPX. And this way we kind of do some port scanning. So if something is on a port other than 8843, or sorry, if it's on 443, other than 443, we are going to actually look for it. I only did 4 ports for this one because I don't want to take too long. And I also use the HTTPX screenshotting tool here, so I can also get some screenshots so I can visualize it. If I have to pick one between doing HTTPX as a screenshot tool or just looking at the text, like the titles and the content type and all the other metadata that we can collect from it, I prefer the text-based because 1, it's faster to go through, and 2, I feel like doing screenshots and having those within our workload, it's a lot of manual labor because you have to open it up, look at it, and make sense of everything, where you can just look at the data from HTTPX and kind of understand what is going on. And this is honestly kind of what it looks like. So if you wanted to look at all the screenshots, and you can see there's a massive number of assets here. And if I want to take a look at this, honestly, it's a lot of data, right? It's some of these 443s aren't going to be, for example, screenshotted properly because we can't reach them. Most of these are behind things like Okta. So if I click on this, even though it's going to a GitHub, for example, I don't get to see if it is behind a SSO or not. So it's kind of, it's good and bad because we know it's going to redirect, but we don't know if it's redirecting right off the bat or if it's redirecting after some other page has been leaked, right? So you have that. And then on top of that, we can't tell which one of these are a single sign-on and which ones of these are actual Okta SSO for the employees and contractors. So that's a big thing that you need to figure out. And a lot of times I figure that out based on the location header, which I'll share in just a bit. And then you can see what we have some cool things like we can say, hey, wow, this one, for example, is account has been canceled. Can we take over it and find some vulnerabilities? Who knows? You have things like this one that shows there's an application here that you can hack on. There's an actual app. So it helps you see, yep, there is an actual app behind the login that I can sign up on. But again, when we're doing 8,000 domains, 1, it's going to take a lot of space on your machine to screenshot all of these. And 2, we're just endlessly scrolling without being able to grep for anything for ourselves. And obviously, I want to look for things like this because this is where I would start my hacking, because it actually has a full-on application that I can mess with. So I can go on here now and go try now and see if I can actually mess around with it or anything like that. So that's one good part of doing screenshots. I want to kind of highlight that. But again, it doesn't, for a company like this, you're looking for a needle in a haystack by looking for these assets that are in here, because it's really hard to find them based on just screenshots alone. But we are still finding some interesting stuff that could be cool to mess with. So the next option is looking at the outputs of HTTPX. And we have a lot of these. This is actually not a complete list, but let's see what comes up. There's 4,000 of them. Right off the start, I see a lot of Zscaler stuff. So we can just do a grep v, and let's just forget about Zscaler. And we got to make sure the v is there. Okay, perfect. Now we have some stuff that's coming up. A lot of text plain stuff. But what we want to look at here is if we have a location header and we want to see, first of all, do we have anything that goes to SSO? So let's just do a grep SSO, and all of these are going to SSO John Deere. Sometimes it might be SSO dev. Right here, for example, you can see SSO dev. These are things that we can either just do another grep v for and exclude them, or we can do something like just maybe doing our grep SSO and then just saying sso.txt. So all of those exist in a file for us to later take a look at, because some of these may have some misconfigurations, for example, where it may be pushing us to an SSO, but it may not be properly configured, where we can brute force for paths and directories. Maybe we can see the JavaScript file and things like that. So that's one reason why I keep them. But again, I want to exclude them in my search. So this way I can take a look at other applications. The next thing that I do know about John Deere is that they do send you to a login page. I think it's on johndeere.com. Let's see if we can find it. There are some logins here. Let's see if we can. Maybe it's Deere. I don't know which one it is. They do have a login page, but what we can do now that we know SSO is out of the picture, we can just grep for login. And the reason why that is interesting to do is because of the fact that we know which ones of these now are behind the login page. That means for some cases, or most cases, it means that we can sign up and log into it. So let's just pick one randomly here and see what we can find. So GitHub probably wouldn't be a good one. Let's see this one. It's going to some partnership site and it is going to log in, and let's see what it does. In the meantime, let's do dealer shop, for example, and see what this one does. A lot of these are going to either not load because of my IP being banned, because I've been hacking on them for a while, or this one is still loading. Let's see. This one is actually bringing up this. I don't know what this is, but it's giving us some API information, some SSO stuff. So if we click on this, it's going to send us to Okta. Let's just keep going. I'm going to kind of show you what my thought process is live as I do a lot of these. So let's see what we can find. This one is going to another login, it looks like. So let's do this one too. And let's see what it does. Okay, so this is kind of not fully done yet. There we go. This is an account.deer. So I think account.deer or myjohndeere.com is where the login happens for any of the users. And you can see now, we don't have a lot of data for it yet because I haven't finished doing HTTPX. But I want to kind of show you, this is the thought process that comes to mind when I want to look for applications that could potentially lead to me just logging in and hacking on them. For some reason, though, I don't think any of these sites are going to load. But let's just try and do a couple more of them. This one is going to sign in. So this is when we can actually sign up for a new customer account. So because it is still behind a SSO, but you have access to creating an account, this is a great place to start doing this. So you can get actual access to these applications, and anybody could sign up for this as long as you can give them your email, I think a username, and some information about yourself. So keep that in mind when it comes down to these things. Even if you see a sign in and it's behind a registration form, you should 100% sign up to get access to those applications. And honestly, sometimes you will see some of the SSO apps are misconfigured and they give access to you based on the credentials you have created on a regular account. So keep that in mind. Once you're signed in and your session is created, it could carry you over to a bunch of different applications, and you're going to just get access to more and more stuff, which is part of the things that the entire HTTPX work, or the workflow for it, misses. So because we don't have a session active here, so if I go to proservices.deer.com, it is always going to send us back to a login page. But if you do have your session signed up or logged in, it would automatically open that up, and now you can see that this proservice.deer.com allows us to sign in and do whatever we want. So that was one approach, and I think that is my favorite approach to do. It's just, again, as always, looking for leads, looking for massive applications or applications that are behind a login, getting access to it, getting access to the API, and then testing for things like API hacking, or looking for IDOR authorization issues. If they have invite systems where you can invite users with lower privileges, can we do user escalation? Looking for any type of vulnerabilities that are pretty much in scope of this bug bounty program. You also have the second approach that is extremely boring, but it does work in some cases, and that is just purely going after assets where you can actually brute force for some content. And a lot of times those are things like your APIs. And if you look for APIs, you can probably look for the Swagger or OpenAPI JSON files that kind of give you an understanding of how this application works, and hope that maybe you can find the endpoints on a prod side that is built properly with proper authorization, but that have missed some of those checks in their dev or maybe some of their other QA environments. And let me show you what that looks like really quickly. So let's take a look at our HTTPX again. This time I'm just gonna grep v the SSO ones. And I want to kind of show you an observation that I get just based on looking at this list of domains. And the interesting thing here is that they're not the only ones that do this. Every company that you look at, they have some sort of a permutation or list of environments that they have created. In this case, we can see something like prod is being created here. We also have the same thing for stage right here. You have US East, you have Brazilian South. And then if you keep looking, we're going to just look for maybe this one. There's a shop cert, but then there's development, and there is qual, right? And then there is shop. So 4 environments, some of which are showing us different stuff, but that's not what I want to show you. I want to kind of show you how you can analyze this data and find something that could be beneficial. And that example would be to look at this, for example. And you can see here that we are on ISG auth devel, which is probably development, deer.com, and we have some Swagger endpoints. And unfortunately, this one is only showing us the Swagger, the JSON from Pet Store. But let's just see if we can enumerate what we just looked at. Again, this is a live example, so I don't have something prepared for it. I wanted to do this blind and without prep work so you can see all my thought process. But let's just see that everything that we looked at in this file right here, there was cert, qual, and the other ones. We're going to do cert, qual, stage, and it looks like cert brings something up. So it looks like this one's on cert already. Qual brought something up, but it's still the same thing. And then stage was nothing. And we can also go and remove all those environments. And it looks like this one also worked. What I would do typically here, if there was a actual JSON file from Swagger, which shows the documentation for the API, I would try and test these out on each environment and make sure they have proper authorizations and they're actually validating your barrier token to make sure you have access to it, and just see if there's any vulnerabilities. And honestly, I would probably look for this application name across the entire environment and scan for all these different API endpoints that they have given us. Unfortunately for us, for this example, we don't have a Swagger file, but that is one option of the what I call boring method. Is you look for these endpoints like Swagger, maybe you find actuators, maybe you find Jalukias, maybe you find Git folders, maybe you just find a div folder that has some old application on that you can hack on. The sky is the limit, but also you can take this a step further and use something like way more. Actually, let's try this right now and see if we can get some data out of it. I'm going to quickly just do a echo this domain and see if way more could give us some information for this. I don't expect it to, but that's also another option. If you don't know what's on a domain or a subdomain, you can always use your passive data discovery here to see if anything comes up out of it and see if it gives you some API endpoints, some applications and things like that. I don't think that would work here. We're going to give it a try and see what happens, but that is also another option you have when it comes down to looking at things like that. Yep, it looks like this one didn't want to work. I want to do something with maybe search. Let's hope something comes up. Maybe not. It looks like it's still a 0. Let's just do one more. I'm going to do the same thing, echo, and I'm going to give it to way back URLs, even though I don't have it fully set up on this machine. Nothing. And we can also do get all URLs and see if we get different data from each one. Yeah, this one I don't have any configuration files for it. I don't think it's going to find us anything, but I kind of want to show you what that thought process looks like. A lot of times I actually do this a lot when I do some brute forcing. It looks like this certificate was created many months ago and maybe I don't know what's on it. This is what I do. Or even better, if I don't get anything out of these, you jump over to GitHub and you start looking to see if anybody else has posted anything, whether it's another hacker, whether it's a developer, whether it's some user that was automating something on these applications. And I know this last thing I'm going to show you, it may look a little too simple or maybe too old school, but I promise you it works. So the other thing that I know a lot of people don't do is just simply Googling for a domain. I love doing this with doing something like site equals deer.com and just taking things out by doing the dash. So I want to take over or exclude JDFY. I do that and you can see that one is gone. Maybe I want to exclude DPA. That's another one. Maybe I want to look for things that have in URL login, perhaps. Maybe there we go. There's a login. There's another login. Zone marketing portal, another login. Bunch of different things actually that have logins, careers, help, one link, and things like that. And you can also go to johndeere.com. So let's see what this one brings us. There is this dealer jobs and Z that has the weird certificate that's expired, but still we can see that we can log in, and that's not their regular login. It's not SSO, and it's not a single sign-on for their contractor. So you can use that. Same thing here. So it's something that I know a lot of people don't look at, and I spend a lot of time doing this, especially on big targets. And I'll do something like JSP, for example. Maybe we can do something like API next. So you can see there's some API stuff here. Maybe we don't like help, so we exclude help from here. And it looks like this one has no APIs. Let's see something like V1 maybe. And you can just kind of enumerate and get creative based on what it is that you're looking for or you want to focus on. But you can see I'm doing just some of the examples of what I would look for as I'm going through them. You can also look for PDFs sometimes because it may have some file uploads and things like that. Let's do one last one, and we do maybe something like register. Nope. Maybe sign up. Nope. Maybe sign up like this. Maybe we'll look at deer.com. Nope, that doesn't work. But you can see there is a lot of different things that you can look for when it comes to just enumerating on Google, which is extremely valuable because it also shows you some of these websites. And if they're gone, you also get an idea of what was there that you could have gone after while doing these searches. Okay, so there you have it. This is in a nutshell how I would approach John Deere as a bug bounty program. I honestly don't know if this video is going to be too short or too long. So let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these. Maybe you want me to go more on some of these targets. Maybe you want to see extra layers of this. I want to kind of try this out. It's a new topic and a new content type that I'm trying on this channel, and I would love to hear your feedback. So let me know down below. And as always, if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Become a Nahomie. We are almost at 200,000 subscribers. So hit that button, become one of our subscribers, and help us get there. All right, that's it. I will see you all in next week's video. Peace.